10 frame, which means either they hold 8 of these frames or 10. Pretty hard to figure out, right? But for years, 10 frame was always traditional, but more people are going to 8 frame now because they're easier to handle.
Oh.
The bees do just as well, if not better, in 8 frame equipment. It's easier to lift. And we start out with a frame like this, box full of these frames on top. And then the bees make the wax. They produce the wax in their bodies and build the comb. And when they build these cells, they tilt them slightly up so that when they put nectar in there from the flowers, it won't run out because it's 80% moisture, so it's basically like water almost. And how do they know how to do that? I don't know, but I mean, they do. So they build it up, and then they have to evaporate the nectar down to its till it's 17% moisture to be honey. And they can tell, see, they get all these bees lined up in the front and they fan and create a draft through there to evaporate the nectar down until it gets down to 17% moisture. So, and they know, now we have a machine that we can take honey and measure the moisture content, but I don't know how the bees do it, but they know when it's 17% moisture. Because when it gets to that point, then they cap it over. But they don't cap it until it's 17% moisture. So then we have frames like this that are full, that are capped. And you see, actually those are empty. Down there, some that aren't capped.
Right.
So those are ones that apparently didn't evaporate enough. What they did is they cleaned them out and left them empty. Because if they cap them over, they won't cap them unless there's real honey in there.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow, they're really smart.
they are. It's just fascinating. So then what we do is then we take a frame like this, and I already got one just started. I want to show you. We use an electric knife and cut the cavities off. So that we can get the honey out of it. So take this electric knife and we just slice off those cappings. And the beeswax falls down there. And of course some of the honey does too. And then it drains. And then after we drain all the honey off of these cappings, then we melt the wax down and make beeswax like that. And that's from these cappings. And that's the wax that we make candles and other things out of. Now, then this extractor, because I told you the cells are slanted slightly up, but when we put 6 of them in this extractor, and the top is toward the outside, and it spins, so we start it going, and the centrifugal force throws the honey out against the sides, because the cells are slided, they're slanted that way, so it throws it against the side, and then it just runs down the bottom, and comes out here, and then we just open this thing up, and the honey comes flowing out, and then we don't filter it, but we strain it just to catch little hunks of beeswax, and occasionally you'll get a bee leg or a bee wing that, but now this is the best honey you ever tasted, right out of the extractor.
That is delicious.
You can't come in here and not tasting my honey.
It's really good. Just do a tiny bit.
Hey, you've never tasted honey like this. I mean, really?
No, we've gotten honey from up there, but this is like nothing else done to it right there.
Seems like it does.
No preservatives or anything.
I mean, you're okay.
So from there, then, is that what you
Then
package?
your bottle. Yep.
Wow. And that's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it.
Oh my gosh. Now, how long will it take one of the boxes or that to
well, that depends on the, you can throw your stick in the snake if it's a waste basket. But they can fill up all those boxes in a week if
everything's right.
Everything's right. Other times you put on there, it might be a month or when they get it back.
Is that right?
Depends on the amount of nectar they're bringing in, how good they're doing at evaporating, because it depends on, they can evaporate quicker depending on the moisture or the humidity. And so there's a lot of factors go into it. But it's just like any other kind of farming, you're so weather dependent on how the things progress.
Right.
Like,
Now, how long have you been doing the hives and everything?
oh, we've been keeping bees about 35 years.
Is that right?
Yeah. We keep about 75 hives.
And how did you get started? Is it something you
Well,
had an interest in?
Yeah, when I moved out here, I planted a whole bunch of fruit trees down there, and we needed bees to pollinate them. Well, now, I mean, many years ago, the fruit trees are all gone. They're still there, it's getting tiny, because they take a lot of work, and the bees are much more fascinating. So I play with the bees. And we don't have food, we buy our food someplace else.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you spray any kind of stuff on your trees with the bees being there? Do any things
No.
that might be poisonous for the bees?
No,
I mean,
no,
what do you
that's
do
part of the problem.
to
yeah.
make the tree, make the apples or whatever, to have nice,
Yeah, well,
nice ones if you
that's
don't
part of the
spray?
thing.
Yeah.
You almost have to spray, but basically, if you're careful and do it right, you don't spray when the when the tree's in blossom.
Oh.
So, and the bees only visit the trees when
When they're
it's
in
in blossom. You spray a dormant spray before they blossom, and then you're not supposed to spray again until after the blossoms. But
Oh.
everybody doesn't follow those.
Yeah.
I bet.
But
Huh.
yeah, theoretically, because you basically do have to spray to keep good
Be
fruit
nice
these
apples,
days.
like Lynn's do, I
Yeah.
suppose. I don't know what they do, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do. You drive by there, you see them truck those
certain times of year.
things going through there. They get sprayed both ways. They can drive down and sprays
Oh.
both ways. On
Mhm.
everything.
Oh.
I've seen that because I keep some bees in John's house, so I go right past lanes.
I was going to ask you, how many, other than here at your place, how many other places do you
I
have?
think I got 7 other
Oh,
locations.
okay.
We just keep some in, I try to keep some in every surrounding county because surprisingly enough, even though they're 30 miles away, sometimes it rains here and doesn't rain there,
Sure,
or vice versa.
sure.
And sometimes we'll get honey in Madison County and not get any here, or,
Oh, okay.
you know. And then because we like to show honey, that's our thing. Sometimes we get different colors of honey,
I've heard
even
that.
though there's pretty much basically the same thing growing.
Yeah.
You know, nothing grows different here than it does in Licking County.
Right.
But sometimes the honey up there is darker than it is here, or, you know, so there's like 7 classes, and when you show honey, 7 different classes of color. So
Wow.
getting from different locations where there's different colors, you can
Fit into
get
the-
stuff in different classes so we get more blue ribbons.
Now, will the difference, like in some of the fruit trees, the like apple versus pear or whatever, will that flavor it a little bit or not
Probably if you
necessarily?
had enough, but basically,
Oh, okay.
you normally don't get actually a honey crop from fruit trees.
Oh, okay.
Fruit trees are very important to the nutrition of the bees.
But not
it's
enough
early,
so that it
But usually not,
impacts them.
although a friend of mine did get some apple blossom honey this year, because I guess they were a gigantic big or apple orchard and
Yeah.
got some. So there's like 300 varieties of honey in the United States.
Oh.
But we only get 3 or 4 kinds personally. We get black locust in the summer and May, then in the summer what we call wildflower, because there's so many things. blooming
Right.
That it's everything from clover to soybean to weeds to whatever.
Huh.
And then in the fall we try to get goldenrod, but the goldenrod isn't blooming this year. There's no moisture, so since there's no moisture in it, they don't seem to be making any goldenrod honey this year.
Now, how long will you leave the hives out all
Yeah.
season, all year long then?
Oh yeah, they stay out there. The honey supers we take off right there, and so the honey supers are off, but the bees
But
have
the
3
bees could
boxes
still
of honey
be
there
there.
with their 60 pounds of honey that we leave on
For them
for
to
them, for them,
survive.
yeah.
Very nice.
and then we just have to hope they survive the winter.
Yes. Now, how did last winter affect them?
Last winter was the worst winter for Ohio in recent history.
I would think so.
Average loss was 70%.
Oh my goodness.
Colonies last winter.
Now, is there
That's why
anything,
honey costs more this year.
is there anything you can do to
Uh,
help that or prevent that?
The scientists say that the bees aren't healthy, and that's why they didn't make it through the winter. If the bees were healthy, they can
They
withstand
would.
winter. They've withstood cold weather for thousands of years. But
And do you think part of that's just because we
It's
had
the-
such a hard winter that we haven't, no,
they
okay.
could withstand that winter if they were healthy. Just
But
like
for
if
whatever
you were
reason,
going
they're
into
not
winter
healthy.
with pneumonia,
Yeah,
you might not make it, you know, if you're.
that's a lot of bees though, not to
Yeah.
have been that.
Yeah, but there's just too many toxins in the air. And there's too many farmers using sprays not according to the label and things like this, or not necessarily farmers, golf course owners that spray constantly, all these people that have Chemlon out every week because they don't want a dandelion in their yard.
Yeah.
And dandelions are pretty. They don't hurt anything. But, you know, the people there's just so many toxins in our air that it's not just bees that are dying. Bees, monarch butterflies,
Yeah, I've heard
almost
that.
extinct. Bats, all of our pollinators are dying. And the neonicotinoids that they're putting, that are pre-treating some seeds with, it's a poison. And it's systemic. It's in all the entire plant. And they can prove that it doesn't kill adult honeybees. But if they take this nectar or pollen back and feed it to their babies, to the young, it has to have an effect on them. And it's definitely a poison. I mean, they proved it's a poison. That's what it's labeled as. And they've even found it in Mother's breast milk now. So you know that these, I mean, it's a tough situation. You know, the farmers are feeding, what, 150 people now, the average farmer, where 50 years ago it was 50. He's a fellow Farm Bureau board member, so I was checking my questions and my answers. So going from feeding 50 people, you know, average farmer feeding 50
Right.
people to feeding 150 people, that's what we got to do, I guess, if we're going to continue to feed on this population. But
it has
if we keep killing the honeybees and all the pollinators, we aren't going to have the food anyway.
Right.
So you have to find a balance. You have to find an answer. And right now, they're not finding the answer. But the government has finally admitted that this loss is not sustainable, that they have to do something. Now, the question is, what are we going to do? Nobody knows yet.
Now, are the majority of states in the United States, do they have good numbers of honeybee?
Well, it's declining in the whole country. Okay, well, hey, look at this. Another friendly face.
Yeah, we were at the Honey Fest last year when he did the whole
So, yeah, you take
thing in the tent.
We already did
there's
that.
a recipe.
Oh, yeah?
This is a recipe folder. It's nice there.
Here, take one of those.
Now, everybody else that's been here could leave except these two girls. They wouldn't
Okay,
taste
well,
that
I
much.
got
They
this
tasted
Joe.
it.
Well, two. Oh, okay.
What the heck's wrong with them then? They wouldn't taste my honey. They're the only people that refuse to taste my honey all day.
You should have known that out of your two granddaughters. They want to try it.
It's good for you. You gotta learn to drink tea and put some honey in it.
See, I like that. Well, I'm gonna go look out here at the other.
Okay,
Here,
well,
thank you.
when you girls grow up, you'll know.
Yeah.
Go on in, Melissa.
Yeah, how are you?
Who's this?
This is my niece's son, Braver.
Hey.
You remember my niece, she was